I still exist in the YouTube world. This has been a little bit, I guess, since I've made a vlog. I can definitely say that this one is not going to be the easiest one, but I feel like there is a lot of people who can probably draw and learn a little bit of something from this one, just with kind of what's been going on in my life. Um, I guess I've been kind of MIA because I've been focused kind of on my own mental health and getting myself back in a place where I'm in a good place, in a positive place. Struggling with anxiety is not anything new to you guys. I've been pretty open about that. It's been a really long time, I think, since my anxiety has been as bad as it has been lately, to the point that it is causing a little bit of depression, and it had started to encroach on relationships and work and just my own well-being. It just came down to the fact that I just didn't feel happy. I didn't feel a drive to train, and everything suffered from it just because of that lack of drive. I've always had pretty good coping mechanisms with dealing with anxiety, and I've gone over those in previous vlogs, and it just seemed like I was so overwhelmed that it was impossible for me to implement those just because I couldn't get my brain to quiet enough for me to really rationalize and work my way through things as I normally would. Normally I'd just kind of sit down and look at things from a bigger picture and just give myself that extra kick to kind of get myself moving again. And it just seemed like it just wasn't clicking, it wasn't happening, and I was just spinning my wheels. So the hardest thing was admitting that what I was doing was clearly not working, and that meant looking at different avenues. I've always been a huge advocate of mental health. I've always been a huge advocate of doing what you need to do to overcome mental health and mental illness. So whether that be therapy or meditation or your own coping mechanisms or medicating, whatever you need to do to be the best version of yourself and to be the happiest version of yourself, I've always been a full advocate of that. I've always looked at myself as being one who doesn't need medicating, or somebody who can, live with their anxiety, and that was always sufficient for me and it always worked. But as things, came to getting unmanageable for me and the things that I was doing weren't working the same way they were before, it really made me realize that to find change meant changing and being open to new concepts and ideas, maybe ones that didn't fit into my beliefs or my ideals. And that came down to the decision of choosing to medicate for my anxiety. So it's probably about 2.5 weeks of me taking Cipralex. That's just a 5 milligram small dose of it. And I guess this video is really hard because it's funny, as somebody who's always been such a big advocate for mental illness, it was actually really embarrassing for me to admit that I needed more help than from within myself. And there's only a few people up until, I guess, this point that know that I started medicating for my anxiety, and it was a hard step for me to make this video, but the point of it is I want people to know that there's nothing embarrassing about choosing to medicate for anxiety, for depression, for your mental illness. I actually have found a new strength and a new braveness in my choice to do so. It takes a lot to look at yourself from an unbiased and an outside perspective and go above and beyond the belief systems that you have and accept that maybe what you think and what you know isn't actually what's best for you. And that's kind of what brought me to this point. And I really urge anyone out there who has questions about, choosing to medicate for their anxiety, or, different avenues, to really be open about change and about things that might not, align with what you believe in now. But if what you're doing isn't working, then something has to change to create some kind of a different environment for, finding some kind of happiness, finding some kind of something that's going to help you be the best version of yourself. And, I just kind of wanted to be open about that. I know that there's people who look up to me. There's people who always, tell me how much they appreciate how honest I am. And I just feel like this is something that I should include in that, because everyone, no matter how strong or how stable they seem, everyone's kind of fighting their own battles, their own demons. And I don't think that makes you any less of a person. I've always been very strong in believing that people's weaknesses are usually what defines them the most and how they overcome them. I'm still not, creating my decision one way or the other on taking medication for myself. It's still kind of in an adjustment period. There's pros and cons for sure at this point that I see, but it's just something that I'm willing to try to, get back to being my normal self. And if this is the direction that I need to choose to go, if this is the direction that I need to go to get there, then that's just going to be what I have to do. I definitely don't look at this as a permanent solution. It's just a band-aid. I have really strong coping mechanisms, really strong sense of self. I'm really introspective, so I know what makes me click. It was just a matter of getting my brain to quiet down enough for me to really get my life moving in the direction that I wanted it to move in, because I was starting to feel really stagnant, and I just wasn't finding that calm or peace of mind that I needed to really just cope with things. And if you have any questions, if you need somebody to talk to, my Instagram and my Facebook are always open. You can definitely shoot me a message on there. I'm hoping to make more content as I slowly begin to feel a little more myself, and coming up to hopefully a meet in November. So keep it sleazy, and I'll talk to you later.